A 9-year-old girl shows up at a Hells Angels garage with a cleaning rag, ready to work in place of her sick mother. What these feared bikers do next will change everything the town believes about heroes and villains. If this story touches your heart, please like and share your thoughts below. Sometimes angels wear leather instead of wings. The morning rain drummed against Iron Horse custom motorcycles as Crusher Davidson reviewed work orders. At 48, the Desert Wolves president had learned to appreciate quiet mornings before his mechanics arrived. The heavy front door creaking open made Crusher look up. Tuesday mornings meant Clara Martinez would arrive for weekly cleaning, but something was wrong. Instead of familiar work boots, he heard wet sneakers on concrete. "Mrs. Martinez?" Crusher called out, then stopped as a small figure emerged from behind the tool cabinet. A girl no more than 9 years old stood in the doorway, soaking wet, clutching a threadbare cleaning cloth and dragging a faded pink backpack. Sophia Martinez had her mother's dark eyes and stubborn chin, but where Clara carried exhausted dignity, Sophia's shoulders bore weight no child should carry. Her school uniform was clean but second-hand, shoes held together with tape. "Senor Crusher?" Sophia's voice was barely a whisper. "My mama is sick. She's in the hospital with pneumonia. I came to clean instead, so Mr. Webb won't take money from her pay." The cleaning cloth shook in Sophia's hand. Crusher realized this child had walked through rough neighborhoods in rain before sunrise to protect her mother's income. "Who told you that you needed to come here?" Crusher asked, crouching to her eye level. "Mr. Webb from the cleaning company. He said if Mama doesn't show up, he takes $50 from her check. That's half what she makes here." Sophia's voice carried the matter-of-fact tone of a child who'd learned adult responsibilities too young. "We're already late 2 weeks on rent." Crusher's jaw tightened. The shop paid Webb service $200 weekly for cleaning. "Sophia, how much does Mr. Webb pay your mama for cleaning this place?" $100 a week. He says it's good money for immigrant work, even though Mama was born in Arizona, just like me. The math made Crusher's blood boil. Webb was stealing 50% of Clara's wages while using false immigration status to justify poverty pay. "How did you get here this morning?" "I walked 2 miles. I know the way because Mama takes me sometimes when she can't find a babysitter." Tank Williams arrived as his Harley announced his presence, but his greeting died seeing the small figure beside his president. "Boss?" Tank's voice carried concern. "Everything okay?" "Tank, meet Sophia Martinez. She's here to work because her mama's in the hospital and their rent depends on this job." Tank's expression shifted to barely controlled anger. "Sophia, have you had breakfast?" Sophia shook her head, then added quickly, "But it's okay. I'm not hungry. I just want to get cleaning done so Mama doesn't get in trouble." Damn, here was a 9-year-old who'd walked 2 miles in rain on an empty stomach to protect her hospitalized mother's income, and she was apologizing for not being hungry. "How about we get you breakfast first?" Crusher said, "then figure out the cleaning situation." "I don't want to be trouble," Sophia said carefully. "Mama says you pay her fair and treat her with respect. I just want to do good work like she does." Crusher felt his heart break. This child had been taught to be grateful for basic human decency. "Sophia, your mama is family to us, which makes you family too. Family doesn't let family go hungry or work when they should be in school. But if I don't clean, Mr. Webb will deal with us." Tank interrupted. "You don't need to worry about Mr. Webb anymore." Doc Rivera arrived, followed by Wrench Patterson and Steele Johnson. The Desert Wolves were gathering for their Tuesday meeting, but found their president comforting a soaking wet 9-year-old. "Gentlemen," Crusher announced, "meet Sophia Martinez, Clara's daughter. We have a situation requiring immediate attention." As Crusher explained Sophia's circumstances, his brothers' faces hardened with protective fury. They'd all come from poverty and understood desperation that would drive a child to take adult responsibilities. Now that world had sent them a 9-year-old with a cleaning rag. It was about to learn why the Desert Wolves had earned their reputation. Within an hour, the garage had become an impromptu command center. Sophia sat at Crusher's desk, wrapped in a clean shop coat, working on homework while Tank prepared scrambled eggs. "Sophia," Doc said gently, "I called the hospital. Your mama is stable and should be released tomorrow if her fever stays down." Relief flooded Sophia's face for the first time that morning. "Can I see her? They said children aren't allowed in that part." "We'll figure out a way," Crusher promised. "But first we need to understand what's happening with Mr. Webb." Sophia bit her lip. "Mama says I shouldn't complain about work. She's grateful to have 3 jobs. 3 jobs! Wrench looked up from his laptop. "Your mama works 3 jobs? She cleans offices downtown Monday through Friday, does laundry for Mrs. Henderson weekends, and cleans here Tuesdays. The money is never enough, though." Steele pulled out a calculator. "Sophia, how much does your mama make total each week?" Sophia recited figures with precision. 50 from downtown, 60 from Mrs. Henderson, 100 from here, $210. And your rent? $400 a month. Plus utilities, groceries, school supplies, mama's medicine. The reality painted a picture that made hardened men feel sick. Working 3 jobs, 7 days a week, Clara barely earned enough for basic housing and food. "Breakfast is ready," Tank called. Sophia approached the plate with obvious hunger, barely restrained by politeness. As she ate, the mechanics investigated Webb's operation with methodical efficiency. "Webb's got contracts with 15 businesses," Wrench reported. "Charges standard rates, but pays workers 40% below market. Classic exploitation. Target desperate people who can't complain." Crusher studied Sophia, noting how she ate with measured bites despite hunger. This child had learned to make food last. "Sophia," he said carefully, "has Mr. Webb ever visited your apartment? Pressured your mama about anything besides work?" Sophia's expression darkened. "He came last month when mama was late with office cleaning. Said if she couldn't work fast enough, maybe she shouldn't have the job. He looked around our place and said it was obvious we needed the money." The phrase carried implications that made every man clench fists. Webb wasn't just exploiting workers, he was using prejudice to justify it. "Would you mind if we visited Mr. Webb today?" Steele asked gently. "Just to discuss your mama's situation?" Sophia looked uncertain. "Will you be mean to him? Mama says we can't afford to make enemies." "We'll be professional," Crusher promised, "but clear about our expectations." Tank's phone buzzed. "Boss, interesting news about Webb's business. 3 other families have filed complaints about wage theft, intimidation, discriminatory practices. Any consequences?" "None. He settles out of court for minimal amounts, makes people sign non-disclosure agreements, continues operating. Classic predator pattern." Sophia finished breakfast and looked around at the men who'd treated her with more respect than most adults showed her. "You really want to help Mama?" "We want to help both of you," Crusher replied. "Your mama deserves fair treatment. You deserve to be a kid instead of worrying about rent. But we can't pay you back. Mama says we can't take charity." "This isn't charity," Doc explained. "This is family looking out for family. Your mama makes our workplace clean and welcoming. Taking care of her is taking care of ourselves." Sophia considered this with seriousness beyond her years. "What will you say to Mr. Webb?" "We'll explain that Clara Martinez is now under Desert Wolves' protection," Crusher said. "Her working conditions and pay are matters of personal interest to us." "And if he doesn't listen?" Tank's smile carried no warmth. "Then Mr. Webb will learn what it means to exploit people under our protection." Sophia studied their faces, seeing something new. Adults willing to fight for her family without expecting anything in return. "Okay," she said quietly, "but please don't hurt him. Mama says violence only makes things worse." "Your mama is absolutely right," Crusher assured her. "We're just going to have a conversation about respect, fair wages, and consequences of taking advantage of good people." Outside, rain had stopped, and weak sunlight filtered through windows. But inside Iron Horse custom motorcycles, something brighter was taking shape, the beginning of bonds that would transform 2 lives and challenge everything Phoenix thought it knew about angels and demons. Webb Cleaning Services occupied a strip mall storefront between a check-cashing business and discount cell phone store. Marcus Webb had chosen the location deliberately. Accessible to desperate immigrant workers he preferred hiring, but respectable enough to maintain customer credibility. The convoy of 6 Harleys that pulled into the parking lot at 2 p.m. drew immediate attention. Crusher led the formation, followed by Tank, Doc, Wrench, Steel and Bones, their leather cuts and chrome creating impressive coordinated intimidation. Sophia had remained at the garage with Mrs. Henderson, who'd arrived within an hour of Crusher's call. Margaret Henderson had employed Clara for weekend laundry for 2 years and was furious learning about Webb's exploitation. Marcus Webb looked up as 6 leather-clad giants filled his small office, their presence making the space claustrophobic. At 55, Webb had built his business around intimidating vulnerable workers, but he'd never faced intimidation from the other direction. "Gentlemen," Webb said with false confidence, "I don't allow solicitation on my property." "We're not soliciting," Crusher replied with calm authority. "We're here to discuss Clara Martinez." Webb's expression shifted as he recognized the name. "Mrs. Martinez is one of my employees. If she has a complaint, she needs proper channels." "She doesn't have a complaint," Tank said. "She's in the hospital with pneumonia, and her 9-year-old daughter showed up at our garage with a cleaning rag, ready to work because you threatened to dock her mother's pay." Color drained from Webb's face as he realized these men knew his operation's details. "I think there's been a misunderstanding. Mrs. Martinez receives competitive compensation. $200 weekly revenue, $100 paid to the worker," Doc stated flatly. 50% margin on a woman working 3 jobs to feed her daughter. Competitive? Webb's hands shook as he understood these men had done homework. "My overhead costs don't justify poverty wages," Steele interrupted, "especially using intimidation to keep workers from seeking fair compensation." Wrench read from his notes. "Clara Martinez, Maria Santos, Rosa Delgado, Carmen Vega, 4 women, all single mothers, all earning 40% below market rate. All threatened with termination for discussing wages." Webb sank back, realizing his operation was being dismantled by men who understood exploitation through experience. "What do you want?" he asked quietly. "Simple," Crusher replied. "Immediate wage adjustment for Clara Martinez to market rate, $200 weekly. Back pay for 6 months of underpayment, $300. Written agreement, her employment cannot be terminated for medical absences." "That's impossible. I can't afford—" "You can't afford not to," Bones said quietly. "The alternative is explaining to our lawyer and Department of Labor how your business model works." Tank placed a folder on Webb's desk containing documentation Wrench had compiled. Wage theft complaints, discriminatory practices, worker intimidation, all documented, reportable, potentially criminal. Webb opened the folder with trembling hands, face paling at their investigation's thoroughness. "You can't prove—" "We don't need to prove anything," Doc interrupted. "Clara Martinez is now under Desert Wolf's protection. Her working conditions and treatment are matters of personal interest. We're informing you of this reality." Webb understood perfectly. He could continue exploiting vulnerable workers, but not this worker, not anymore. "And if I refuse?" Crusher's smile carried no warmth. "Then you'll learn that Desert Wolves take personal interest in businesses that mistreat people under our protection. We'll audit every contract, investigate every practice, ensure every authority understands exactly how your operation functions. Plus," Steele added, "we'll make sure every customer knows Webb Cleaning builds profits on exploiting desperate families. Amazing how quickly business dries up when people understand what they're really paying for." Webb stared at documentation, calculating with a predator's desperate mind who'd suddenly become prey. "Clara gets market rate going forward," he said finally, "but I can't afford back pay all at once." "Fortunately," Crusher replied, pulling out his checkbook, "the Desert Wolves can. We're paying Clara's back wages directly and her next 6 months in advance at corrected rate. Your involvement with Clara Martinez is officially terminated." Webb watched in stunned silence as Crusher wrote a check for $1,200, 6 months of fair wages, allowing Clara to focus on recovery without worrying about income. "One last thing," Tank said as bikers prepared to leave. "Sofia Martinez is 9 years old. If we ever again hear about a child doing adult work to protect family income, we'll consider it a personal protection failure. Understood?" Webb nodded wordlessly. Understanding his business model had encountered an immovable obstacle. As desert wolves filed out, Webb remained seated, staring at empty space where $1,200 had just walked away. More importantly, staring at realization that some people couldn't be intimidated, exploited, or ignored. Outside, 6 motorcycles roared to life in perfect synchronization, carrying 6 men who'd learned that protecting the innocent felt better than any revenge they'd ever taken. Back at Iron Horse Custom Motorcycles, Sofia waited with Mrs. Henderson, unaware that her mother's worries were ending and that her courage had forged bonds forever. Clara Martinez opened her eyes in the hospital room to find Sofia reading beside her bed. The antibiotics had broken her fever, and for the first time in days, Clara's mind felt clear. "Mija," Clara whispered hoarsely, "what are you doing here? You should be in school." Sofia looked up, relief flooding her face. "Mama, you're awake! The doctor said you were getting better." She marked her place in the book. Mrs. Henderson called school and explained everything. "Mrs. Henderson, how did she—" "Mama, so much happened. Good things, really good things." Sofia moved closer. "But first, how do you feel?" Clara took inventory, still weak, but the crushing chest weight had lifted. She could breathe without sharp pain. "Better. But Sofia, you shouldn't be here alone. What about work? Did you tell Mr. Webb I was sick?" Sofia's expression grew complicated. "Mama, I did something that might worry you at first, but it turned out really good." "What kind of something?" "I went to clean the garage for you. I thought if I could do the work, Mr. Webb wouldn't take money from your pay." Clara's heart stopped. "Sofia, no. Tell me you didn't go to that neighborhood alone." "Mama, listen," Sofia said urgently, taking her hand. "The motorcycle people are good people, really good. When I showed up with cleaning supplies, they didn't make me work. They gave me breakfast, called your ambulance, and found out about Mr. Webb stealing money." "Stealing money? What are you talking about?" Sofia explained everything. Webb's exploitation, the confrontation, the back pay, the 6 months of advance wages. "They wrote a check, Mama, enough for 6 months' rent, plus groceries, medicine." Sofia pulled out an envelope. "Mrs. Henderson has it. She'll help us open a real bank account." Clara stared at the envelope, trying to process information too good to be true. "Sofia, people don't just give money away. There has to be conditions." "The only condition is you get better and don't worry about money while healing," Sofia said firmly, "and that I go to school instead of worrying about work." A soft knock interrupted them. Crusher Davidson's frame filled the doorway, waiting politely for permission to enter. "Mrs. Martinez," Crusher said respectfully, "I'm James Davidson. Sofia's been worried about you. We wanted to make sure you had everything needed." Clara studied him. Leather jacket, tattoos, intimidating appearance. But his voice was gentle, posture non-threatening, and Sofia looked at him with obvious trust. "Sofia tells me you've been very kind. I don't understand why." "Your daughter showed up ready to work an adult's job to protect your income," Crusher replied, moving to the visitor's chair. "That courage deserves protection, not exploitation." "Ah, but the money! I can't accept so much from strangers. We pay Webb $200 weekly to clean our garage. Learning he only gave you half while keeping the rest, that's theft, not business." Sofia nodded enthusiastically. "And Mama, they didn't just give us money. They made Mr. Webb promise fair wages for all workers. They helped other families too." Clara felt tears building as the magnitude sank in. "I don't know how to thank you." "You repay by getting healthy and letting Sofia be 9 instead of an adult caretaker," Crusher said firmly. "You repay by accepting that good people exist and you deserve help. And by letting us be family," Sofia added. Crusher says family looks out for family. Clara looked between her daughter and the club president, seeing something new. Sophia talking to an adult without fear, without careful politeness born from knowing adults could be dangerous. Family, Clara repeated softly. When Sophia was little, I told her family was people who showed up when you needed them. I stopped saying that because it hurt, knowing we didn't have that. You do now, Crusher replied simply. Sophia's got 12 uncles who'd move mountains to keep her safe. You've got community that'll make sure you never choose between health and rent again. Guard, tank, dock and steel arrived carrying flowers, food, magazines. Behind them came Mrs. Henderson with Sophia's overnight bag. Clara, dear, Mrs. Henderson bustled in. I brought Sophia clean clothes and arranged for her to stay with me until you're discharged. Tomorrow, probably, but you're not to worry about anything except getting stronger. Doc approached professionally. Mrs. Martinez, I'm a paramedic. I've reviewed your chart with Dr. Patterson. Recovery's progressing well, but you need 2 weeks rest before any physical work. 2 weeks? Clara's voice carried panic. I can't miss 2 weeks. I'll lose all my jobs. Actually, Steele said, consulting his notebook, we've arranged coverage for downtown cleaning through a fair wage service. Mrs. Henderson doesn't need you to rush back. And our garage cleaning is now permanent with sick leave, health insurance, and schedule around Sophia's school. Clara stared at the group who'd transformed desperation into security. I don't understand how this is possible. It's possible because Sophia was brave enough to ask for help, Tank said gently, and because protecting kids and families is more important than any other business. Sophia climbed carefully onto the bed beside her mother. Mama, I was so scared when you got sick. Scared you'd die like Papa's mama, and I'd be alone, but now I'm not scared anymore because we have family. Clara wrapped her arms around Sophia, finally believing their struggle might actually be ending. 2 weeks later, Clara stood in the spotless Iron Horse garage, wearing her new cleaning uniform. Instead of rushed, desperate sessions for Webb, she worked at reasonable pace with proper equipment, transforming the garage into a showcase reflecting the Desert Wolves' business pride. Sophia sat at a corner desk doing homework while Clara completed tasks. The arrangement allowed Clara to earn living wages while keeping her daughter close, impossible under Webb's system. Mrs. Martinez, Wrench called from his workstation. You don't have to clean around me. I can move if the area's in your way. No problem, Senor Wrench, Clara replied, dusting intricate machinery. I like seeing your beautiful work. Sophia, look at these engine parts. They're like metal sculptures. Sophia approached with curiosity, studying precisely machined components Wrench assembled with artist's attention. How do you know which part goes where? Same way you know which letters make words, Wrench explained patiently. Practice. Pattern recognition, understanding how pieces work together. Clara smiled, watching her daughter engage with adults who treated her questions as valuable rather than annoying. In 2 weeks, Sophia had learned more about mechanics than most children learned in years. Mama, Sophia said, Crusher wants to talk about something important. Clara saw the club president approaching, expression serious but not threatening. She'd learned to read subtle differences in expressions of men who looked intimidating but acted with consistent kindness. Of course, Senor Crusher. Is there a problem with my work? Just the opposite, Crusher replied, gesturing toward his office. We need to discuss an opportunity that might interest you. In his office, Crusher spread documents across his desk. Business licenses, insurance forms, what appeared to be a formal business plan. Clara, you've transformed our garage in 2 weeks. Not just cleaning, organization, efficiency, attention to detail. You've got natural management skills, wasted on cleaning services. Clara studied the papers, recognizing legal language from years of employment applications. I don't understand. We want to offer you business partnership. Iron Horse needs full-time operations manager. Someone handling scheduling, inventory, customer service, facility management. Someone understanding that business is only as good as details. The offer hit Clara like physical blow. Senor Crusher, I appreciate the thought, but I don't have education for management. You have 15 years managing 3 jobs, raising a daughter alone, keeping your family fed and housed on impossible wages. Crusher interrupted. You think that's not management experience? Clara looked through the window at Sophia, now helping Wrench organize tools with systematic approach learned from managing household resources on impossible budgets. What would this involve? 40 hours weekly? Full health insurance, profit sharing, enough salary to support your family without second and third jobs. Plus Sophia can do homework here after school, and you'll never choose between work and caring for her when she's sick. The numbers represented more money than Clara had imagined earning legitimately. Why trust me with so much responsibility? Because you've proven yourself. In 2 weeks, you've improved our efficiency 30%, identified cost savings we hadn't noticed, treated our business like your own. That's not cleaning work, that's ownership mentality. Clara felt tears threatening as she considered financial security, meaningful work, using skills she'd never recognized as valuable. There's one condition, Crusher added. Part of your job involves working with other area businesses to ensure cleaning services pay fair wages. We want to make sure what happened with Webb doesn't happen to other families. You mean helping other people like me, making sure honest work gets honest pay, and families like yours don't choose between survival and dignity. Clara looked at the garage where Sophia examined a motorcycle with tank, asking questions about mechanics with confidence of a child whose curiosity was valued. Can I think about it? Of course. But Clara, this isn't charity. This is business. We're offering this because you've earned it, and our operation runs better with you in charge. That evening, Clara and Sophia sat in their apartment. The same small space, but now different. The crushing weight of financial desperation had lifted, replaced by something Clara had forgotten existed: hope. "Mama," Sophia said over dinner that didn't come from grocery clearance, "are you going to take the job?" "I think so, Mija, but it means big changes. I'd work with motorcycle people daily, and you'd spend afternoons at the garage instead of with Mrs. Henderson." "I like the garage," Sophia said immediately, "and I like our motorcycle family. They teach me things, listen when I have ideas, and make you smile more." Clara realized her daughter was right. For the first time in years, Clara was smiling not because she pretended everything was fine, but because everything actually was fine. "Then I guess we're becoming official Desert Wolves family business members." Sophia's grin lit up the apartment. "Does that mean I get to learn fixing motorcycles?" "We'll see, Mija. We'll see." 6 months later, Iron Horse Custom Motorcycles had earned recognition as one of Arizona's most efficiently run shops. Clara Martinez, now operations manager, had implemented systems reducing wait times, improving inventory accuracy, increasing profit margins enough to expand community outreach. Sophia, now 10, and confident in ways amazing everyone who knew her story, had become the garage's unofficial quality control inspector. Her attention to detail made her invaluable for catching problems before customer complaints. "Mama," Sophia called from the customer desk organizing schedules. "Mrs. Patterson is here with her grandson. She wants Tank to teach him motorcycle safety." Clara looked up from inventory spreadsheets, noting how naturally Sophia had assumed challenging responsibilities. "Tell Mrs. Patterson that Tank would be honored to share knowledge with another young person interested in learning." Transformation in both their lives exceeded Clara's most optimistic hopes. Sophia thrived in school, making friends, developing interest beyond survival. Clara had discovered talents she'd never known, finding fulfillment in meaningful rather than merely necessary work. "Boss," Tank announced from the garage floor. "We got visitors. Town council delegation. Looks official." Through the window, Clara saw Mayor Richardson approaching with council members, expressions mixing curiosity with grudging respect. "Mr. Davidson," Mayor Richardson began as Crusher emerged from Parts Room, "we wanted to personally thank you and your organization for addressing wage theft issues in our community. Investigation triggered by Webb's confrontation had expanded into citywide audit of cleaning services, temp agencies, other businesses targeting vulnerable workers. Results shocked even seasoned officials who thought they understood community poverty. Webb's operation was just the tip, Councilwoman Santos added. Department of Labor recovered over $200,000 in stolen wages for 47 families. 3 business owners face criminal charges. Clara joined the group, carrying documentation that had become evidence in multiple proceedings. Her transformation from exploited worker to business manager made her powerful witness to systematic wage theft. Mrs. Martinez, Mayor Richardson said, your testimony's been crucial, helping us understand how these operations target specific communities. New ordinances we're implementing are largely based on patterns you identified. I'm glad our experience could help other families, Clara replied. No child should worry about their parents' wages being stolen. Sophia approached with confidence of someone who'd learned adults could be trusted to listen to important things children said. Mayor Richardson, are you going to make sure kids don't have to work instead of school anymore? That's exactly what we're going to ensure, Sophia. The mayor replied seriously. Your courage asking for help started something protecting many families. As the delegation departed, Clara stood in the garage that had become far more than workplace. It had become center of community, valuing protection over profit, family over exploitation, justice over convenience. Mama, Sophia said, tugging Clara's sleeve, Crusher wants to know if you're ready for the surprise. What surprise? Sophia led her toward the garage, back where the entire Desert Wolves membership had gathered around something covered by motorcycle tarp. At Crusher's nod, Tank pulled away, covering to reveal a gleaming Harley-Davidson Sportster in Clara's favorite blue. Every manager needs reliable transportation, Crusher announced with grin. Plus, Sophia's been asking when she can learn to ride. Clara stared at the motorcycle, her motorcycle, feeling overwhelmed by generosity continuing to exceed her ability to process it. I don't know how to ride. We'll teach you, Doc said. Same way we taught Sophia about engines, organization, standing up for people needing protection. Same way you taught us about family, Tank added, his massive frame somehow conveying tenderness as he spoke about bonds they'd formed. Sophia climbed onto the Sportster's seat, hands gripping handlebars with natural ease. Mama, when we learn to ride, can we visit other towns and help families like Mr. Webb was hurting? Clara looked around at men who'd become brothers, workspace that had become home, daughter who'd learned that asking for help was courage rather than weakness. Yes, mija, Clara said, understanding their story was just beginning. We can help other families. We can teach them they deserve protection, fair wages, and family that shows up when you need them most. Outside, Arizona sun set over Phoenix, casting long shadows across garage where angels really did exist. They just wore leather instead of wings, and understood that true strength came from protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. The Desert Wolves had gained more than business manager and quality inspector. They'd gained proof that their choice to stand between exploitation and innocence could transform lives in ways rippling far beyond any single rescue. Sometimes the best families found each other when the world tried to keep them apart. And sometimes the most unlikely angels were exactly the ones the world needed most.